What up, fam? Happy day of opening World Cup playing. It's first day of the World Cup and Qatar is playing Ecuador. I've been postponing this. Honestly, it's more been procrastination, but we are going to go through the cool foot mob circular World Cup predictor and select who's going to make it to the World Cup final and win it. Let's dive in. We begin with Group A, Ecuador, Netherlands, Qatar, Senegal. Again, today, Ecuador and Qatar are playing. They kick off in about an hour. And personally, I don't think Qatar is going to get through. For me, they're going to end up in last place. Now it comes down to Senegal, Netherlands, Ecuador. Netherlands going through easy on top. I do think that Ecuador has some solid players on their team. Senegal also as well. I think this will probably be the layout of the group where Netherlands is number 1, Ecuador 2, Senegal 3, Qatar 4. Personally, I believe 2 and 3 could go either way. It will go down to the wire between who will make it out between Ecuador and Senegal. I'm going to say Ecuador goes through off of a solid win over Qatar today to open things up. That's what Group A looks like. Group B, now the USA, I do have them going through for sure. Certainly biased. I do think they are a good squad. I think they'll be better in 2026, as most people do, but I do believe also England will be number 1. USA 2, between Iran and Wales. Iran, sorry, you're last for sure. This group could be interesting as England hasn't beaten the USA in quite some time. I would almost want to see the USA on top of the group, but it's not going to happen. So England 1, USA 2, Wales 3, Iran 4. Pretty pumped for those USA games, though. Group C, Argentina already sitting at the top of the group by default. And for me, that's where they're going to be. Mexico and Poland, that's an interesting case, as Mexico in just by default is number 2, Poland 3. I'm thinking that actually may be the way that it goes down. Saudi Arabia 4. I do think they could cause some problems in this group, but I do think that they'll end up in the 4 spot. Now it's between Mexico and Poland. Mexico, again, is interesting because they have always made it out of the group stage for like the past 6 World Cups or something crazy. That is pretty wild. Now, is that streak going to be broken? Personally, I would like to see Poland advance. But I really do think Mexico has a good team, so unfortunately, I don't think Poland's going to be getting out of the group. It does hurt me to say that, but I think actually the default of what Group C already was in this predictor is actually the way that it's going to fall. So that's where I'm going to see it. Group D, a lot of interesting storylines coming out of Group D as well, with tons of players injured for France. Some coming into this, we already knew they were going to be injured, but 2 big names, Nkunku and Benzema, getting injured in practice, and they will not be able to be at the World Cup at all. I don't think that will hurt them getting out of the group. So I think that they will finish at the top spot. And now it comes down to second. I think Denmark is going to be very good in this tournament, and they were good in the Euros, and I think really have only gotten better since then. So that means they will be number 2. Australia hasn't been too great recently. Tunisia the same way. So I think those will be your 3 and 4s. I'll put Australia at 3. They do have a few decent players, but a lot of them actually playing in the Scottish Premier League. And that could be an interesting storyline as they have like really roped in a lot of the Scottish players. We'll see what happens, but I think Australia 4, Australia 3, Tunisia 4, with Denmark going through in the 2nd spot, France through in the 1st. Group E, Costa Rica had an awesome World Cup last time. I think they made it to the round of 16, if not 1 round further. But I don't think that they're as strong this World Cup. They still have a lot of those old core members that helped make that run back in 2018, but they're older. And I don't think that they brought in enough youth talent to make an impact, especially in this group. I mean, look at it. Germany, Japan, and Spain. That is a tough showing for any team. Costa Rica, I'm sorry, you're going to be in the bottom. Spain. I do like Spain's team. They have some of their older players that have phased out now, but still a few core ones that will be there to bring that experience, but they have a lot of young talent. I think Pedri is going to shine in this World Cup. For me, that makes them number 1 in this group above Germany. Granted, Germany also a great team, a lot of good players, do have some injuries, but I think that with Timo Werner being out, they don't have that traditional striker that they're used to. It's probably going to end up being Kai Havertz, who could end up having a good tournament, even though he doesn't normally play in that position, but he has played it before for Germany. We will see. Germany also does tend to show up in tournaments. I'm still going to leave them at 2. Japan, I think, could also cause the problem. Of all of the group stages, Japan could be the team that really causes the biggest problem. And in Group E, that's interesting because there are so many good teams, and Japan has some talent on the roster as well. I still think it's going to be tough for them to get through Spain and Germany. And right now I'm actually leaning on maybe pushing Japan up to number 2 and having them get rid of Germany. And I do believe their opening game is actually Germany versus Japan. I may revisit it. I'm going to leave it here for now because we'll do a big review of all these before we confirm all of our listings. Morocco, Croatia, Canada, and Belgium in Group F. Morocco is listed number 4 right now. I think I still will have Morocco in that 4 spot. Just not enough talent to get through some of these teams, which are very solid. Of course, we know Belgium kind of phasing out of their golden generation per se. Still a lot of great players though, so I do think they'll end up getting through. Canada have been playing fantastic. They have a lot of momentum coming into this tournament. We'll have to see if that really does carry over. And with Davies, their headlining player, it'll be fun to watch him. We'll have to see how that does end up breaking down. And Croatia, also a good team. Some of their golden generation players as well, getting toward the end of their international careers. I really think it's almost a toss-up between these 3. I'm going to give it to the neighbors up north, some of the USA. I'm going to say Canada does fall in at number 2, so that means who's going to go through with them, Belgium or Croatia. I think Belgium has more depth than Croatia, even though Croatia is a good team. I think they will end up losing a couple points. So I think I'm going to leave it as is. Belgium 1, Canada 2, Croatia 3, Morocco 4. Group G, we've got Brazil. A lot of people have Brazil going through. And if you did see that graphic that was shared on Twitter of the depth that they have, the people they're taking to the World Cup is insane. Almost every position, they have a top tier player in the starting spot and in the backup spot. So I do think that they will do very well in this tournament. Potentially winners, we'll have to see, but definitely getting out of their group fairly easily. Cameroon, Serbia, and Switzerland. This also is a tough group. I'm going to have Serbia at number 4. I think Switzerland, they have enough talent to cause some issues, but I don't think it's enough talent to get through. Cameroon has some solid players as well, so I think that will ultimately get them through. The Cameroon squad depth will get them just through Group G, falling in the 2nd spot, and Brazil, number 1. And our last group, Group H, Ghana, Portugal, Uruguay, and South Korea. South Korea, I'm so sorry. You're also in a tough group, so that's going to bump you down to the number 4 spot. You're not making it through. Portugal, they also have a very good squad, and potentially Cristiano Ronaldo's last World Cup. And I'm sure you saw the thing where he said, hey, if I win the World Cup, he's going to be totally retired. Honestly, being a Manchester United fan, I would be for that. The drama would be done. Fantastic. I do think Portugal will get through. Do I think that? I think Uruguay is going to be good. I'm actually going to put them in the number 1 spot in Group H. Portugal also tends to show up in tournaments, but will they be able to beat Ghana? Now, I still have flashbacks. I'm not even sure which World Cup it was. Maybe it was 2014 was when Ghana beat the USA. I think it was the round of 16. And I think even the tournament before that one, Ghana beat the USA and prevented them from making it to the round of 16. So just for that, I'm having Portugal going through in the 2nd spot. Ghana, sorry, you didn't make it in this one. You fall in in the 3rd spot, and South Korea in number 4. So let's review these really quickly to make sure This is what I'm thinking. Group A, Netherlands and Ecuador going through. Senegal, Qatar not making it. Group B, England in first, US in second. Wales, Iran not making it in the following spots. Group C, Argentina easily getting through at 1. This is a tough group, though. I do think they could struggle a little bit. I still see them getting through at the first spot, though, with the talent and the depth that they have. Mexico at 2, continuing their streak, making it, I think, 7 World Cups in a row after making it out of the group spot in the number 2 slot. Poland, sadly, at 3. If this one is wrong, I would be happy to see that, but I think that is where they'll fall. And Saudi Arabia in 4th. Group D, France squeaking out that first spot. Denmark making it 2. Australia can be a little bit tough. I think I'm going to switch that. I'm going to have Denmark actually making it through Group D in the first slot and France in second. It might be recency bias just because they keep getting all these injuries to these important players. I think that maybe something could happen where they drop a point or two that allows Denmark to get through into that one spot. I do think France will still make it. So now they're my second spot for me. Australia, Tunisia. Sorry, you're not moving on. Group E, I have Spain up top. I do rate Spain pretty highly. I think they have some solid players. They have a good mix of youth and experience. That, for me, makes them pretty scary. Germany, always going to show up. That's in the second spot. Japan, 3rd. Costa Rica, 4th. Group F, Belgium taking the first spot. Canada in 2nd. Croatia not making it through in 3rd. Morocco in 4th. Group G, Brazil easily coasting through in the first spot. Cameroon in 2nd. Switzerland, Serbia not making it through. And lastly, Group H, Uruguay and Portugal making it through, with Uruguay in the first spot, Portugal in 2, Ghana 3rd, South Korea 4th. How does it sound? Thoughts? Hit me your comments. What would you change in this layout? I think it honestly is pretty solid. I'm saying France in 2. That's probably the biggest upset that I've listed in this round so far. Maybe also having Ecuador in that 2 spot in Group A. But a fairly predictable tournament overall, at least how I've laid it out so far. Let's continue. We're now into the round of 16. Unfortunately, I knew this breakdown would happen where it's the Netherlands versus the USA. Do I really think that the USA can beat the Netherlands? I think a stroke of luck would have to happen. Something crazy would have to go down where the Netherlands are playing their worst game and the USA just to be happening to playing their best. That's how it would have to work out. I'm going to think about that a little bit later. Wow, and what a matchup this would be. Argentina versus France. Oh, that's a tough one. But I would have to say Argentina is going to go through. They just look like the better, more well-rounded team at the moment. But of course, like, can you really knock France? If they do end up finishing 2nd in that group, that's going to be scary. No one wants to go up against Argentina in the round of 16. We have Canada and Spain. I would like to see Canada go forward more, but I really think Spain will have a good tournament, so that will end up knocking Canada out. Wow, another big matchup. Brazil versus Portugal. I like a lot of the Portuguese players. I really think they have a good team, but Brazil's depth is just so scary, even though in almost every tournament, Brazil has a big squad with a lot of good, big-name players. I think I still will have to go with Brazil over Portugal. We could revisit that. We'll see. England versus Ecuador. I think England will make it out after a scrappy match against Ecuador. Denmark and Mexico, another great matchup. So for as much I favor Canada because they're our neighbors up north, I don't like Mexico because the USA and Mexico are essentially the rivals in CONCACAF. I'm going to go with Denmark. I also think Denmark will have a solid group. I picked everyone on the left side of the screen. I don't know what that means. Belgium versus Germany. I'm changing that up right now. Germany, I will say, going through. Uruguay versus Cameroon. Uruguay. I really do think Uruguay has some good squad depth as well. Now, am I going to be bold enough to pick the USA going through against the Netherlands? There's a question mark. What happens if I click on that? Nothing. It doesn't give me any insights. This is just up to me. I have to make this decision. I'm going to pick the USA. Unlikely, I know, but when you're doing like a March Madness bracket, you got to pick some crazy things just for fun. All right, let's revisit it. USA beating Netherlands? Meh, sure. Argentina versus France? That could be a toss-up. I still think Argentina has it. Spain versus Canada? Yes, I think Spain. Oh, Brazil and Portugal. That one makes me interested. I'm going to also call that an upset. Portugal knocking out the favorites, Brazil, in the second round. England, Ecuador, I think England will make it through. Denmark, Mexico, that's also a toss-up. I do think Denmark will probably pull that off. Germany over Belgium, Uruguay over Cameroon. Oh, man, now we're getting intense. Oh, no, the USA up against Argentina. You got to go Argentina in this one. And I would not be mad to see Messi getting a World Cup. That would be pretty cool. And potentially his last World Cup as well. Spain versus Portugal. That is also a tough matchup. Holy cow. I think Portugal have gone as far as they're going to go in this quarterfinal matchup. Spain over Portugal. England and Denmark. That will be a good one. I think that is going to be a scrappy match, and I think Denmark's going to beat England, and England are going to be pissed. Germany and Uruguay. Man, that's a good matchup too. I'm going to say Uruguay also goes through in the quarterfinals. So we have Argentina over the USA, Spain over Portugal, Denmark over England, and Uruguay over Germany. Wild if this really does happen. Argentina versus Spain. That's a heck of a matchup, and so is Denmark versus Uruguay. What is going on? I think that I want to see Messi winning the World Cup. And Argentina versus Spain is the heck of a matchup. I do believe that Argentina has more experience and a bit more depth, so I'm going to say Argentina pulls it off, beats Spain, makes it to the final. And Denmark versus Uruguay. Two teams, honestly, no one probably expects to go this far to really make it to the finals. I'm going to say it's going to be a South American final. Uruguay beats out Denmark. So let's do our bronze match first. So Spain versus Denmark. I think Spain will pull it off, and they will get the bronze. They will finish in third place in the World Cup. Argentina versus Uruguay. That will be an awesome match to watch if that is the case. I think Argentina pulls it off. Messi finally gets his World Cup, and all is right with the world. That is my prediction for the World Cup, which kicks off today, Qatar versus Ecuador. Well, fam, I've made my predictions. What are your thoughts? I feel like a lot of people that I've seen on Twitter have selected Argentina taking it home. That does make sense. I do think they have a good enough squad to do it. It does depend on how they play. As we all know, there can be upsets. We'll see what happens. Hopefully, they at least make it out of the group. I would love to see Messi get his World Cup. I think he is a class player and certainly deserves that trophy. Argentina does have the depth to do it if they can align everything correctly, and it does fall into place, which in my bracket, it does. We will see if Argentina really is able to pull it off, and if Uruguay can make some upsets and get to the final for that all South American final. We shall see. What are your predictions? Who do you think is going to win this whole World Cup? Do you have a similar bracket to mine? Do you think mine is absolute trash? Hit me in the comments. Let me know what you think. Who's going to go through, who's going to take it all, and what cool upsets that you have as well. Do you think the USA can beat the Netherlands? I would love it. All right, fam, I will see you in the comments, and enjoy the World Cup.